back to the channel, man. Yes, today we are going to be building a traction bar for the Blazer. We've had the problem with wheel hop and stuff and just being capable of launching this Blazer in any kind of way, man. You try to leave in first gear or second gear, no matter what, this thing just spins. We're actually doing quite a few things right now in order to fix that. As you guys know, we just tore the rear end out. We're putting a new rear end. I'm waiting on parts. We got a mini spool going in. We got some drag racing shocks. And now up next, of course, we need a damn traction bar to get rid of all the damn wheel hop. In the last video, we got this rear end bolted up in here temporarily, because we do still need to assemble it, but this is the reason why. I want the suspension compressed. So these are the shocks that we're gonna be running. This is the bracket we're running. I now have the axles sitting on jack stands, so the weight of the vehicle is actually being supported by the leaf springs and by the rear end, you know what I mean? Just to make sure that we get accurate measurements here. So I've actually got a couple of traction bars here. These are from Max Speeding Rods, bro. They're actually for an EG Civic, but they're getting repurposed. So we need to make our brackets to go to the bottom of the U-bolt bracket here, and then it's got to span up to a bracket that we need to fabricate that's actually going to bolt onto the leaf spring itself. I have less than $90 worth of material here. I mean, of course, I didn't have to purchase these because I actually had these guys sitting on the shelf. If I did have to purchase this, it would be just slightly over $100. So we've actually got a lot of fabricating, measuring, cutting, welding, and stuff that we need to do. My main focus at the moment is I want to get that bracket and I want to get that bracket in blue fabricated. What do you guys think of my drawing, man? It's not too bad, huh? The whiteboard in the garage is most certainly a freaking dope ass idea. One of the better ideas I've had in a long time. All right, so first thing I'm gonna work on is kind of a simple portion. We're gonna start off easy. I'm going to erase this section right here. So only thing we need to make are two plates that are going to stack on the top and on the bottom of the leaf spring, sandwiching the leaf spring in between it. We need to cut 4 pieces of metal and drill a bunch of holes, but in order to do so, we gotta do a whole bunch of measuring. So for this, we're gonna be using 6-inch flat bar. This is 6 inches wide and it is 1/4 of an inch thick, solid freaking steel. First cut! Nice, now only 3 more. Whoa. God damn it, that was hot. There's our first pieces cut. These are 2.5 inches wide. I made them the same width as the leaf spring. No reason why, I just wanted to. So 2.5 by 3 3/4. So since I cut this the same width as the leaf spring, it'll make a really good representation. Oh my God, I almost dropped on my toe. It'll make a really good representation of a leaf spring up here. So this is the same width as the leaf spring. These are going to sandwich onto the leaf spring like this. And we need to put 4 bolts through it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, just like so. So that's what I need to do next is figure out exactly where to drill my holes. So what I'm wanting to do here is I want to drill the holes to where when these bolts go through, I want the bolts to be right against that leaf spring. So then it'll actually limit the amount that this is capable of moving side to side. You know what I'm saying? So if we get these holes nice and tight against the leaf spring, that'll just add a little bit more rigidity to where this thing's not capable of wandering around, because you don't want it to wander. Alright, so the top and the bottom portion of this bracket is now completed. We need to work on the part that is going to come down like this. And it's going to have a hole in it. This is going to be a pivoting point. So one of these is going to go on the top of the leaf spring, one's going to go on the bottom, and then they're going to bolt together. On the bottom portion, we're going to need a bracket, something like this, that the next bracket that we make is going to have to fit inside of there, and it has to pivot. So basically like that. We got to get these pieces trimmed, we got to drill holes, and we got to get them welded on here in the correct distance apart. Well, there it is, man. Our first brackets are done. This is the easiest of the 3 brackets that we have to fabricate here. So I want to mention before somebody puts it in the comments, I do have grade 8 hardware. It's these zinc coated ones right here, and I also have nylon locking nuts that's going to go on there, as well as whenever we get this all finalized, I'm going to go ahead and cut the extra threads off the bottom so they're not just hanging down like that. This is basically just mock-up hardware, but now we've actually got to get the Blazer all jacked up and supported by the frame once again, because now I need to pull these brackets out. And yes, I know, the ones that we just freaking installed, but that's the reason why. I wanted to make sure to get them in so I can pull some measurements and everything. I had to make sure that these bars were going to be long enough and the placement that we need to put the holes. Since we got that all mocked up, that made it to where I was capable of figuring out exactly where I needed to place this lower bracket. So I wasn't sure if I wanted the holes to be like kind of where I have them drawn on this picture, or if I wanted it to be something a little bit more like that, to where the holes would have been more centered. It really doesn't matter where it is you have the holes. Either way, it's going to do the same exact thing, but given the length of the bar is the reason why I think I'm gonna need to do something a little bit more like what I originally had drawn, so the holes are moved a little bit more closer to the front. All right, pulling some really quick measurements. We need to bring this bracket down as far as we possibly can, but you also run into a problem. You cannot go outside of your scrub line. So your scrub line, this is the center point of your wheel whenever your wheel is attached on here. So let's just draw kind of a dotted line representing a wheel, right? You know, I'm gonna fill that in a little bit more so you can see it. So that's your tire. Let's say this is the actual wheel. If you have a flat tire, you were to lose your air pressure, you don't want this bracket to be hanging down anything lower than the edge of your wheel. So if you were to have a blowout and then all of a sudden that bracket touches the ground, that's extremely dangerous, because it'd be kind of like hitting the brakes, you know what I'm saying, on one side, or it could potentially rip your entire rear end out. A lot of times whenever you go to the track, tech will actually look underneath your vehicle. I would imagine it's mostly for rear wheel drive vehicles, and check and make sure that any traction bar that you have back there is not hanging lower than your scrub line, because it's a pretty serious thing. So the wheels that I currently have on the Blazer are 15s. I don't ever plan on running anything larger or smaller than a 15 in the back, so I'm gonna go off of that measurement. And also, if you didn't know, if you have a 15-inch wheel, it actually measures out to be 16 inches in diameter. So you put that on the edge on this side and you come over here, bam, look at that, we got 16s, man. But if you look at the tire, it's 15. If you didn't know that, you're welcome. Go out there and measure your wheels, bro. I bet you they are an inch bigger than what you thought. Yeah, I'm not gonna go over all this once again, but I did measure the diameter of the pipe. I cut it in half, minus that from my measurement, and then brought the tape measure down. Long story short, our bracket that's gotta hang down right here is capable of safely coming down 3 1/4 of an inch from this bottom edge right here. So I went ahead and I got the sandblasted, took all the old paint and dirt and everything off of it, got it down to bare metal. I've already started trying to mark out the center of this. So this is going to be the same concept as the bracket we already made. So basically this flat portion is the U-bolt bracket. Now we have to fabricate these 2 sections right here. Of course, they're going to be a lot larger, shaped differently, but it's the same concept. But the gap that's in between them needs to be 5/8 of an inch, which is this width right here. So basically, the brackets that we're making right here is going to do what I have set up right here. It's going to go on each side of the heim joint. right, U-bolt brackets are freaking done, man. Now we get to move on to what I think is probably gonna be the most difficult bracket that we have to make. It's gonna be the one that involves the most cutting and measuring and drilling and all that. So this right here is actually our pivoting point. Back here is where our bar connects to the rear axle. This is basically the control, I would call it. I don't know, I'm trying to give this stuff names. So we got our control bracket done, we got our pivoting bracket done. Now we gotta get, what am I gonna call this? We gotta get the business bracket done? I don't freaking know, dude. I'm done giving names. I'm just gonna erase this to get it out of our way for the time being. You guys know what that bracket looks like. So now we need to make a portion that's going to extend up here to where the leaf spring bolts. This is going to run straight back to where our pivoting point is, and then it's gonna come down into an L shape. And we gotta make sure it's got enough girth to it to be nice and strong, and something basically like this. So then there's going to be a hole right here, and our pivoting point, our bracket, is going to attach there at our hole. And then down here we are going to add holes for our bar. That's where our bar is going to actually connect. So, and this is what makes everything happen. This is what makes the business happen, man. So we're really close, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm really excited to get this done. So let's just freaking get right into it. Traction bars are freaking done, man. You guys want to know this, but this took me like 3 days to do that. So between each bracket, like cutting and measuring and all that crazy stuff, man, it takes time. If I had a water jet, I probably would have gotten this done in one day. But anyhow, they definitely came out dope. So for those of you who have been telling me to get a set of Caltracs, if you guys can see by looking at this is definitely a different design than what I've seen from Caltrac. I don't know if Calvert Racing, which is Caltrac for those of you who don't know, I don't know if they make a traction bar similar to this style or not. The traditional Caltrac bars actually have the triangle and the bracket goes over here. Anyhow, I cannot fit that style bracket because that bracket has to go on each side of the spring perch right here, or the mount for the leaf spring. So if you see on this side, it's wide open. I would be able to fit it. But where the Blazer is different is this bolt actually goes through the bracket on this side and then it goes into the frame. So the other side of this mounting point for the leaf spring is completely boxed in by my frame. So as you can see, there's nowhere to put that other triangle. You gotta have one on both sides. Where if it was on a truck, it's completely different. So for a lot of you guys who are new to the channel, you probably don't even know that I have this, but I do have an S10 truck as well. You'd have to go back and check some of my older videos. I bought this as a running and driving truck, tore it all down with the idea of putting LS and everything into it, completely tore it down to the frame. We've resprayed the frame and everything. I'm not gonna get all into it. If you want to check that out, all the older videos are, you know, on my channel down below. So we will be picking back up on this thing in the future, but I want this to be like the all-out race truck. So if you come out here to the truck and look at its leaf spring mount, do you see how it's completely wide open? On both sides you can get that triangle shaped bracket where you cannot do that on the Blazer. And then also, this is a really flat surface. The Blazer's flares up at the front where I would have to cut that off. I don't know, man. It was just obvious to me that the traditional style Caltrac bars was not going to fit on the Blazer. All right guys, I'm going to give you a brief explanation really quick of my take on wheel hop and how it is that this traction bar is going to actually improve, well, not only the traction but eliminate wheel hop as well. So not paying attention to the traction bar at all, just look at the leaf spring that I actually have drawn up here. The section right here where that second leaf spring ends up until the center hole right here where it mounts, that single piece of leaf spring that comes up, that section right there actually will bend under load. Like whenever you're doing a burnout or you try to take off fast, if your tire actually does grip the road, what the axle does is it spins. The axle will not actually spin, but it will rock like this, okay? When it does that, something has to give. It's this section of the leaf spring right here that does. This section will actually, just gonna do a crude drawing really quick, it will bend up like this, kind of aggressively, man. You'd be surprised how much that piece of metal right there actually flexes and moves. I don't know if that's a leaf spring or a, you know. So to stop the leaf spring right here from bending upwards and causing that axle wrap or wheel hop, whatever it is you want to call it, we need to apply pressure downwards right here on the leaf spring. So in order to get that downwards pressure, that's where this whole traction bar comes into place. So whenever you nail it, whenever you try to take off from the line or do a burnout or anything, the axle tries to twist in this direction, right? So it tries to twist like this. When that does that, this bottom section is obviously doing the same thing. It's trying to twist. So therefore, this bracket is going to move forward. Whenever this bracket moves forward, it's transferring that through the bar. So this whole bar and our cantilever, or whatever you want to call this L-shaped bracket right here, all moves in this direction. So when this moves forward, we have our pivoting point right here. The pivoting point where this L bracket is attached is going to make the L bracket push up. So when you put pressure down here going forward, this L bracket is pushing up on the leaf spring, where this section is going to be pulled down. So just to recap, man, I'm sitting inside of the Blazer. I'm at like, I don't know, 3,000 RPMs. I got a set of slicks on the back. I'm about ready to just freaking let it eat. You know what I'm saying? This axle is going to spin. As soon as I pop that clutch out, the axle is gonna spin in this direction, pushing this bracket, pushing the bar forward, applying forward pressure on our L bracket, which is going to apply upwards pressure on where the leaf spring bolts up. In turn, is pulling down on this section, applying downwards pressure on the leaf spring so that it's not capable of doing wheel hop. As simple as that. I hope I explained that well enough for you guys to understand. I know I'm not the greatest at putting things into words, but that's my traction bar setup. That's how it came out. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. It's just another one of those fabricating projects that's under my belt that I'm really excited that I took on. This is one of those things that you most certainly can order this for yourself. You know, you want to pay anywhere from $300 for a really cheap, flimsy looking item, upwards of $400 or $500 for a set of Calvert Racing traction bars, and which by all means, I will say, I feel like I did a really good job on mine. I really do, but Caltracs make a damn good product. So if you guys value your time, I most certainly encourage you to just buy a set. It's already done. This was a lot of fun. It was a learning experience for me. Yes, I saved a lot of money, but where I saved the money, I spent in a lot of time making this and cutting it, and you know, hours and hours. But that's what I do for a living, you know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things, you gotta decide if that's right for you. Do you wanna spend $400 or $500 and save 3 days worth of work and just install it and enjoy it? Or do you want to go out and spend about $100 or so in material and spend a good 3 days or so out in your garage making it for yourself? That of course is up to you, and that is your discretion. Anyhow, guys, I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do smash the like button. Peace out, and I will see you guys on the next one. You know what really sucks though is now I have to take it all out. Because, I mean, that thing needs paint for one, and for two, I gotta reassemble the axle. So the whole thing's gotta come apart, but everything has come in to complete that task. Ooh. Wow! That's it. Open up all my boxes. I got gear oil. I got 2 new O2 sensors. I got lug nuts because I had to get new studs and they're bigger. And I got 2 new shocks for my rear window. Yay! But you're gonna have to wait to see what's inside of this box. This is what's gonna make it all work. Get out of my damn way. Get out of the way.